Hi everyone, welcome back to Shark School. I hope you're all having a wonderful Wildlife Wednesday. In this talk, I'm going to tell you all about our local sharks, so what shark and skate species we have living right here in our local waters in Northern Ireland. Many people are surprised to find out just how many shark species we actually have in our local waters. In fact, we have over 20 that live here all year round and more than 40 that are in our waters at some point during the year, meaning that those sharks that make long migrations come and spend part of their year right here in Northern Ireland. Our local waters are home to some of the largest, rarest, weirdest and coolest sharks and skates in the whole world, and that's what we're going to talk about now. If you take a look in your Shark School activity pack, you'll find this activity. It's called Which Sharks Are Local Round 1. Have a go at this before you listen to the rest of this talk and have a guess at which sharks you think live here in Northern Ireland. And then as you listen to this talk, you can check off and see if you were right. Okay, first up is the basking shark. The basking shark is actually the second largest shark in the whole world, and it lives right here in Northern Ireland. Usually when you see it swimming, its mouth is wide open, and that's because it feeds filtering tiny plants and animals called plankton out of the water. So as it swims along with its mouth wide open, it's continuously filtering that plankton out of the water. We see the basking shark here in our waters usually in the summer months, and that's because our water's a little bit warmer. And it's thought that they're travelling between Scotland and France because there's two important feeding grounds there. This is a video that was taken by a diver who was lucky enough to be in the water when a basking shark was swimming past and catch it on video. You can see the shark is quite fast, but swimming really gracefully and gently, not even paying attention to the diver. And that's because they're gentle giants. They're just very docile. This is the Porbeagle shark. It probably looks familiar to a lot of you because it looks like the great white shark. They're very closely related. In fact, they're in the same family of sharks, which kind of makes them cousins. Porbeagles are highly migratory species, meaning that they make long journeys across the ocean. There was a Porbeagle tagged off the west coast of Ireland, and 10 years later, it was found off the coast of Canada. That's a very long journey to make. If you look closely, you can see its teeth. They don't look like typical shark teeth. They're thinner and more pointed. And that's because of the type of food that the Porbeagle feeds on. It generally eats things like squid and octopus, and those teeth make sure that when it pierces its prey, the squid and the octopus can't wriggle away. It's another shark that's usually seen here in the summer months, when our waters are a bit warmer, but normally in the areas that are a bit deeper, like around Malin Head and Rathlin Island. This cute little shark is called a spur dog, and it gets its name because it has a spur or a small spine in front of each of the dorsal fins, which you can see right here in this picture. You can also see its spiracle really clearly. That's the hole right behind the eye. The spiracle is a secondary way for spur dog to breathe. Some sharks have this, and many skates and rays have it as well. A spiracle allows them to suck water in and push it directly over their gills so they can continue to breathe or get a large amount of oxygen to the brain quickly if they need to make a fast movement. The spur dog is a very long-lived species. It can live for up to 70 years, and it has one of the longest pregnancies of all vertebrates. Female spur dog can be pregnant for up to 2 years. Generally, you find spur dog traveling in packs, so a lot of the time, females will travel together in a large group. They can be found throughout the Irish Sea and the North Coast. They used to be one of our most common species, but are vulnerable to overfishing. Make the spur dog particularly vulnerable to overfishing. This is the blue shark, one of the most beautiful sharks, I think. You can really see in this photo the counter shading. On top of the shark, it's quite a blue colour, but underneath it's a lighter, whiter colour. That's counter shading. It means that it breaks up the silhouette, and when predators are above or below it, it kind of blends in with its surroundings. Blue shark live in every ocean in the world, including ours. And they're kind of the opposite to the spur dog, because they give birth to quite a large litter of pups. Spur dog only give birth to about 2 or 3. But there is a strong illegal fishing pressure on blue sharks, particularly for their fins, which are really valuable. You can see how it has beautiful pectoral fins. They're the fins on the side of the shark, and they're coveted for a dish called shark fin soup, which is generally a celebratory dish used at banquets in various Asian countries. Taking blue sharks for their fins happens here as well as around the world. In 2018, there was a fishing vessel caught off the west coast of Ireland that had 5,000 individual blue shark fins on board. Thankfully, they had to forfeit all their gear and were fined. This is the thresher shark. What a special looking shark. You can see its tail fin is really long. Sometimes the tail fin can be just as long as their body. Thresher shark aren't particularly common in our local waters, but occasionally they are seen jumping high out of the water with their powerful tail fins. They use their tail for stunning prey as well. They'll swim around a school of fish, whip their tail really quickly, and then come back around to feed on the fish that they've stunned. Remember when I said we had some of the weirdest sharks in the world? This is one of them. This is called the goblin shark, and he lives in very, very deep waters, so it's really unlikely that you'd ever bump into him, even if you were scuba diving, because he lives in such deep waters. In fact, really the only place around Ireland that's deep enough for this guy to live is off the west coast of Ireland and Rathlin Island. You can see it has this very long extended snout, and that's a particular adaptation because it lives in such deep waters. All along its snout are those jelly-filled pores called ampullae of Lorenzini, and because its snout is extended, it's been able to increase the number of ampullae of Lorenzini. Therefore, it has extra electrosensory pores able to detect prey. This is a big advantage whenever you live in deep water and prey might be more scarce or more difficult to find because their surroundings are much darker. It has a really unique feeding mechanism. Its jaw protrudes out really fast and shoots forward in a slingshot motion to be able to grab whatever prey is there. It's called slingshot feeding. This little guy is the small spotted cat shark. It's more commonly known as a dogfish and is one of the most common sharks found around our waters. It's a special shark because it's one of the few that actually lays eggs to reproduce. When the shark pup has developed and then left the egg case, and the egg case is empty, it sometimes washes up on the shore, and people find them, and usually they call them mermaid's purses. As part of the Sea Deep project, we are also searching the shores for these egg cases, and the egg cases of other sharks and skates, about which shark species are using our local waters for spawning. Spawning grounds are a very important habitat for sharks, so it's important that they can be protected. You'll usually find the small spotted cat shark laying on the sea floor, maybe even under some rocks and crevices, because it's a bottom-dwelling species. This is an angel shark. He looks quite prehistoric. Unfortunately, there's very few angel sharks left in the whole world. Around Ireland, there may be some found in Tralee Bay in the southwest of Ireland, but here in Northern Ireland, we don't have a record of angel sharks for over 20 years, so we consider them to be locally extinct. We don't want this to happen to any of our other shark species that are vulnerable to overfishing or may already be endangered. That's why the Sea Deep project is so important. We're working hard to safeguard the future of these sharks, skates and rays in our local waters. This is an incredibly unique species. It's called the flapper skate. It is the largest skate in the whole world, and it lives in our local waters. It can grow up to be 3 meters long and 2 meters wide. And they can even be up to 100 years old. It used to be widespread around our coast. In fact, people travelled from all over Europe in the 60s and 70s specifically to come to Strangford Lough to fish for skate. Unfortunately, overfishing has meant that the population of flapper skate has decreased dramatically, and they are now considered to be critically endangered. In fact, they are now more endangered than the African elephant. The Sea Deep project is working with licensed anglers to try and gather enough data on the flapper skate so that we could put protections in place for it and safeguard its future here in our local waters. This was a video taken by a diver in a marine protected area designated for flapper skate in Scotland. This is a female flapper skate, and you can see she's just resting on the seafloor. And when the torch shines over her back, you can see her beautiful spot pattern. It's thought that a spot pattern on a flapper skate is unique to that individual and may be a way to identify them. This is her mate, a male flapper skate, that is swimming over her quite territorially. You can see just how large they are, but also how beautiful and graceful they swim. Shark skates and rays are unique and special in their own right, but they also play a role in keeping our ocean ecosystem healthy. Many sharks are apex predators. That means that they sit at the top of the food chain, and they play a role in balancing the fish populations below them in this food chain. They do this through direct consumption and predation risk. Sharks generally target the sick or the weak in a fish prey population, which means that they keep that population healthy whenever they remove the sick and don't let the parasite or the sickness spread. Because they play such a valuable role in the food web and in the health of our ocean ecosystem, we have to ensure that they have healthy and safe populations in our local waters. Sharks are in deep trouble, and they have been for a long time. This photo was taken at Strangford Lough, and it's two guys that have caught a flapper skate. Flapper skate are no longer found in Strangford Lough because they have been overfished from that area. Overfishing is whenever you remove individuals from a fish population at a rate faster than they can replenish, so the population never has time to recover. Another issue with fishing, particularly commercial fishing, is bycatch. Many fisheries are not actually targeting sharks, but because they're throwing nets out that will catch anything that they come into contact with, it means that sharks are getting caught in nets even when they're not supposed to. One of the major drivers behind decreasing shark populations is finning. Finning is the practice of cutting off the fins and keeping them, and then throwing the body of the shark back overboard. This has been made illegal in many places around the world, but unfortunately, it still does happen illegally. The fins are generally the most valuable part of the shark and used in a banquet dish called shark fin soup that is popular in various Asian cultures. However, finning is not the only problem. Shark meat is becoming increasingly popular here in Europe and in places like Brazil. Many people across the world rely on a healthy ocean ecosystem for food and for their livelihoods. That is why it is important that we protect our shark populations, because they play such an important role in keeping our ocean ecosystem healthy. One of the most valuable tools that we have to protect sharks is marine protected areas. A marine protected area is a spatial protection. It's an area where activities like fishing or diving or shipping are restricted. But for a marine protected area to actually work and protect the species that it is supposed to protect, it needs to be big enough to incorporate that species habitat. For example, on this map, I've put some flapper skate in an area. Flapper skate don't generally make large migrations. They tend to have a home site and stay in one place. That means they're a good candidate for a marine protected area. If I was to place my marine protected area within this red circle, it really wouldn't be big enough because it's not protecting the whole site where flapper skates are found. Marine protected areas also need to be in the right place. So even if I put a large marine protected area in place, but it wasn't where the flapper skate live, then it wouldn't be effective. Within this red circle is a good place to put the marine protected area for flapper skate because it's large enough to incorporate the entirety of the flapper skate home site, and it's also in the right location where they're actually living. Ulster Wildlife created the Sea Deep project to protect the most vulnerable creatures in our oceans, sharks, skates, and rays. Part of this project is a shark tagging program. The Sea Deep program is providing free tagging training and equipment to those sea anglers that catch sharks and skates. By tagging individual sharks, we are able to then track their movements and also record important information like how fast they're growing and how far they're moving. This will give us really valuable data and an insight into the life of these sharks. If you would like to get involved in local shark conservation or just keep up to date with the work that we're doing, you can follow us at CDeepNI on Twitter and Instagram and Ulster Wildlife on Facebook. Our website also has lots of awesome resources for you if you're interested in sharks. So thanks for coming by Shark School. I hope you enjoyed this Wildlife Wednesday. I'm sure you have many questions about sharks, so don't forget to stick around for the Q&A session with me later.